Hi there, Claudia McMullin again, founder of Hugo Coffee Roasters. I'm here this week to talk about my favorite topic. In addition to coffee, I love talking about coffee too, but I really love talking about animals and our animal welfare mission. So I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about how once I decided upon becoming an animal welfare mission coffee roaster, how is it that we actually fulfill the mission? That's what we're going to talk about today because it's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And here's what we do. I'm going to go back a little bit. Now, remember, I said I rebranded. Last time I was chatting, we talked about the fact that I rebranded Hugo Coffee into an animal welfare mission company in response to Campos coming to the United States, which, by the way, they're gone by now. But anyway, I'm so happy that they came because it triggered all these things, all these great things that have happened since. And that's what we're going to talk about. So, okay. So in 2018, I rebranded to, in the spring, early in 2018, I rebranded to an animal welfare mission coffee company. And then my struggle was that I didn't know how was I going to fulfill this mission to save animals. And my concern was my reaction, my personal feelings about mission-based companies that say, hi, we're so-and-so, and we support X, Y, and Z, and we donate X% of some random metric to that cause. I never liked that. I've just never liked that. I never liked I donate 5%, I donate 10% of what? Of net profit, of gross profit, of I don't know, sales, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's transparent, and I don't feel it's very authentic. So I struggled for the first year year plus, in how I was going to fulfill our mission and how was I going to do so in a scalable way so that I can really have an impact. So so for the first like 18 months or so, we did things like one thing that we did that I'm still doing to this day is I underwrite our local NPR station Adoptable Moment every week. So every week, a local rescue known as Pause for Life Utah, they get on the Adoptable Moment on KPCW and highlight one or two or more cats and dogs that are available for adoption. And I underwrite that program. So Hugo Coffee Roasters underwrites that spot. And in so doing, I like to say, we have had some input. We've been involved in over 500 cats and dogs finding their forever homes. And we love doing that. So originally, I would do things like, in addition to underwriting the NPR station Adoptable Moment, I would pop up at any animal related event. I would sell coffee and I would donate the proceeds to the organization sponsoring the event. So I was running around, my team and I were running around, the Wasatch Front, going to all these little pop-ups, but some big ones too, like, the Strut Your Mutt and Super Adoptions are great. I mean, that's a wonderful opportunity for me to donate in a pretty big way to an animal welfare organization. So in addition to those things, I would donate lots of product to events of all the rescues and things like that, but it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. So then in 2020, I'm going to say, wait, no, in 2019, no, in 2020. So in 2020, somebody reached out to me online, DM'd me and said that they owned a coffee roasting company whose mission was to save farm animals and support farm animal sanctuaries. And they wanted to sell the company to me if I was willing to buy it because we have similar missions. So I did. I bought the company Fluffy Cow Coffee. So we have two coffee brands, but we're here today to talk about the Hugo Coffee brand. But I'm only bringing up Fluffy Cow because it's because of that purchase that I really honed in and figured out what my give back model was going to look like going forward. And this is what it is. So every week of every month of the year, we at Hugo Coffee collaborate and partner with a small cash-strapped, volunteer-based rescue around the country. And during this week-long online fundraiser that begins Monday mornings and ends Sunday at midnight, I donate $2.50 for every item sold on my website during the course of that week to a specific rescue. And I do this for two reasons. First, I picked the small cash-strapped volunteer-based organizations because as a former executive director of an animal rescue, I understand that the work of animal welfare, the true work of animal welfare, is done by the thousands of such small organizations that dot this nation. They're interconnected, they're they're mutually supportive, and they all could use money. They all could use any amount of money makes them happy because it goes immediately to the animals. That's my number two reason. Not only do I want to impact those who have the boots on the ground, who are doing the hard work of animal welfare. And I'm not disparaging the big boys. I'm not disparaging big animal welfare organizations. I love them too. I just know that if I wrote them a check for $300, they wouldn't really care. But if I write a check to a small rescue, they do care, and it immediately impacts the lives of the animals in their care. So that's why I do it, have immediate impact, and to help those who do the work, the lion's share of the work of animal welfare around this country. So what do? So we identify organizations, or they come to us. I mean, we've gotten to a place, thank God, I'm so happy about this, that rescues come to us and ask if we would have a fundraiser for them. And of course, we put them on the schedule. Sometimes we have a little bit of a wait list, sometimes we don't, but that's what we do. So we find an animal rescue, either we reach out or they reach out to us. But like I said, luckily they're reaching out to us now, which I love. And then what we do then is I get on a Zoom before the fundraising week. I get on a Zoom call with the ED or whomever they choose to put on a Zoom with me to tell me all about the organization. And that's my way of vetting and making sure that the organization's legit and they're doing what they say they're doing. And I also want to hear about all the good work they're doing. So we do that. We have a Zoom for every partner. We Zoom in advance. And then during the course of the fundraiser week, we do this. We do a live stream, but I am chatting with the ED or the representative of our partner organization. And we do it towards the end of the week because I use it as a means of, I use the live stream as a means of, calling to action. We have 3 more days left of the fundraiser and asking the organization, what if we just killed it this week and we raised $300 to $500? Like, what could you do with that money? And they go, oh my God, this is what I would do with that money. So I love that, right? Because I know immediately what the plans are for whatever the proceeds of the fundraiser, where they're going to go and for what purpose. And it makes me just like so happy every Monday morning when I eat Venmo or write checks to an animal rescue organization. So in addition to how much I love Monday mornings when I write checks in Venmo to the organization of the fundraiser the prior week, I love chatting with the EDs and the organizations because I love hearing about the good work that they're doing. So I'm just going to talk about a few of the fundraising partners that have really kind of stuck in my brain, and I love them to death. The first one is an organization called Rough Haven Crisis Shelter, something like that. But the word Rough Haven is who they are. That's who they are. And I love this organization because they do something that's very niche and needed in the world of animal welfare. So generally speaking, how rescues find the dogs and cats that they are going to then rehome and find their forever homes for is they go to animal shelters and they pull cats and dogs from the shelters. They get them spayed, neutered, vaccinated, all up to date, and then they try to adopt out the animal that they've rescued from the shelter. That's generally what happens in animal welfare. That's how animals show up in rescue organizations. But there's one gaping hole. So now you have an owner relinquished animal. That's what happens oftentimes where the animals that are in the shelter come from when they go eventually to the rescue and eventually to their forever homes. Many are relinquished by their owners. And what this organization does is it prevents people who are having a rough time, just having a rough time in life, from having to relinquish their pets while they figure out what their next steps are or how they're going to land on their feet or maybe find housing. So for example, Rough Haven will temporarily find shelter or provide shelter, food, etc. for pets of people who go into the hospital, or pets of people who might become homeless or domestic violence victims. Whatever kind of crisis that you can imagine that happens in people's lives where they can't handle taking care of their pets temporarily, Rough Haven steps in and does that for them, which I can't even tell you how much I love that. Because when I was with Friends of Animals, we started a project called the Purple Paw Project. And I started that program, and that was a program for domestic violence victims' pets. Because what happens often in a domestic violence situation is that the victim can't leave the abuser because the domestic violence shelters don't accept pets. And in addition, oftentimes abusers use threats to animals to keep their victims from leaving. So we started the Purple Paw Project at Friends of Animals, which is now Nuzzles and Company, where we would take in the pets of domestic violence victims temporarily while they go through the program at the shelter for domestic violence victims, find the next home, find their next step. So we would take care of the animals just like Rough Haven does, but Rough Haven expanded it out way past just domestic violence victims. But I love them to death. Anyway, that's my shout out to Rough Haven. I've had 2 fundraisers for them already because I love them. I love all rescues, by the way, but these people really stick in my head. Another one that I love, and then I learn all this cool stuff that I don't know. I mean, I didn't run a rescue forever. I only ran it for 2 or 3 years. So there's all this stuff I didn't know. For example, we support an organization called Tiny and Tall. And that organization it rescues very small dogs and very large dogs. It's a dog rescue, but large and small. And I was chatting with them like, well, why large and small? Large particularly because really large animals like a Great Dane do not do well in a rescue or a shelter environment. They deteriorate very quickly, and they often don't survive the environment because it's so stressful on them. So this rescue specifically so instead of the dog going ever to a rescue situation where they're in a crate or a cage or, mixed with a bunch of dogs in an enclosed environment, they go right to a foster through Tiny and Tall, which prevents them from deteriorating, and they never have to experience that pain, which, I mean, I love that. I particularly love that because when I was a little girl, I had a Great Dane named Paladin, and I was really small. I think I was only like 6 or 7 at the time. And Paladin, we went skiing as a family in Vermont for a week. And my parents boarded Paladin for a week, and he didn't survive. He died while we were skiing during that week. And I'll never forget my mother telling me he died of a broken heart. So Tiny and Tall, I'm all about that. I'm all about helping. Oh my God. And then we have organizations that focus on elders. Unfortunately, a lot of people also relinquish their older dogs and cats to a shelter because, one, they can no longer afford to take care of them, particularly the medical bills as animals age, and they might not have physically the ability to care for a pet any longer. And I'm attributing good motives right now. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of bad motives, because that would make me crazy, because I'll go nuts when I think about people relinquishing their pets because they get tired of them. Ugh. Anyway, so this organization that we love, it's called Frankie and Andy's Place. And what they do is they take the elder dogs from the shelters are in the Georgia, and I think they have a broader geographic scope than just that. And they provide sanctuary. They don't rehome them, they provide sanctuary. These dogs live out their natural lives. They get cared for medically. They're given love and attention. They're fed. God, I love this organization. So they take care of the elder dogs for the rest of their natural lives. And on even more, they also kind of give the dogs purpose in life, because they train the elder dogs to go into like an old age home or hospitals. I love that. Just love that to death. So those are just some examples of the organizations, the types of organizations that Hugo Coffee supports in their week-long online fundraisers. And since we've started doing this, I'm so proud to say I have donated almost $100,000 to these small organizations around the country. And we have impacted between, I think, like something like 70 to 80 organizations so far. And this year, so last year we did it every other week. This year we've doubled down, and now we're having a fundraiser every single week for a specific animal rescue somewhere around this country that's doing the great work of animal welfare, people that I want to support, the people that I love, to help the animals that I love. So that's how we do it at Hugo Coffee. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.